Hey guys, I am here tonight to talk to you a little bit about this idea of toxic masculinity in marriage. Before I get started, just keep in mind that, as the title suggests, I'm talking about marriage. Whether that's legal and official or common law or however you define it is fine. I'm also talking about sexuality, and I occasionally use a bit of strong language. Also keep in mind that this is not personal marriage advice, but rather my own thoughts and food for thought for you as you find your own best way forward. Also, if you see me swatting or little bugs in front of the camera, I'm sitting outside. It's like 8 o'clock in June and there's like black flies everywhere. So that's what that's about. I spend a fair bit of time in variously themed moms groups on Facebook. And one of the things that gets talked about often is the men in their partnerships. I hear things like, my boyfriend wants me to quit breastfeeding because he misses playing with my breasts during sex. Or he gets upset every time I ask him to do something to help around the house. He says it's my job to look after things and he doesn't know what I even do all day. Or, we can't co-sleep. I want to, I need the sleep, but my husband doesn't want to share our bed and he won't sleep in the guest bed. Then on the other side, there's this well-intentioned advice from other women, like, make sure he feels loved and appreciated, even for the ordinary stuff, or he won't be willing to do the big stuff. Like, be sure to say thank you and give him a kiss when you notice he put the toilet seat down. Or, guys are really physical, so if you do stuff like rub his feet and cook his favorite food, he'll be more willing to help on his day off. Or my favorite, I find if I give him a blowjob before I need help with something, he's more likely to say yes to the chores I need him to do. Seriously, each of those things are examples of how toxic masculinity impacts ordinary marriages. Toxic masculinity is this idea that men must reject anything inherently feminine and adhere to a stereotypical male gender role, which is aggressive, entitled, and unemotional, except for possibly anger. It does not mean all men are toxic, but all men in our culture are undoubtedly influenced by these toxic stereotypes of what it means for them to be a man, and it influences how women learn to interact with the men in their lives. Toxic masculinity teaches us that men are not actually responsible for their own well-being, let alone that of others, because caretaking and wellness are considered feminine. We're all conditioned to believe that men, by their very design, have the need, and therefore the right, to be taken care of by women. We're conditioned to believe that it's our role to make sure all their needs are met so they can do their manly job of earning money for us, then come home and get all the strokes and praise for being a good provider. Conversely, toxic masculinity teaches women that their primary purpose is to serve men no matter the cost. If you are not submissive, then you are not desirable. It goes even further with us buying into the myth that a man is such a good guy if he's willing to help us by demeaning himself to do women's work, like, I don't know, wiping up their own pee off the toilet rim when they inevitably miss, or putting their own dirty laundry in the hamper, or babysitting their own children. And they don't even know about the hidden emotional labor we invest daily. Reality check, we're talking about grown-ass men here who have chosen to be in a relationship, and it is not our job to have their slippers, cold beer, and gaming station controller waiting for them when they get home so they can put their feet up after a long day. It is not 1950. It is not our job to wipe up their toddler-esque messes. It is not our job to stroke their ego or their penis in order to get them to participate meaningfully in family life. Let me be clear. If you feel like you need to shower your boyfriend with praise or give your husband a back rub or a blowjob, also he'll take out the kitchen trash or participate some other way in your family life, that's not a healthy marriage relationship. That's prostitution. It is a business exchange, not a relationship of equals. It is a transaction in which you're buying your partner's goodwill using the only currency he accepts. It is toxic masculinity hard at work. By all means, give him a back rub or a blowjob if you love to. And as an expression of love, Do it because you want to show your care or because you like it too. Do it to connect and to give each other those awesome oxytocin vibes. But those things should be gifts of mutual affection, not transactions designed to purchase goodwill. If your partner will not listen to you or participate meaningfully until you've paid the fee of stroking his ego or his body, that's not okay. And these transactions, they're not usually even a conscious thing that we're choosing. But if you find yourself saying, I'll give him a back rub or I'll buy his favorite beer before asking him, ... then this dynamic of trying to buy goodwill is happening in your relationship. Despite all of the above and how confronting it probably feels to read it, please know that you are not alone. Many, many relationships today have an overall dynamic of the woman doing the majority of the household duties, including hidden emotional labor, even when she has responsibilities outside the home too. And for the most part, we don't complain even when we're dying inside, because we've been trained to believe that this is the way of things. We've been born and bred on this idea that we are the nurturers and they are the providers. We're told both implicitly and explicitly that we exist in body, mind, and soul for the pleasure of men. We hear phrases from our mothers like, "You're too big for your britches, and if you don't learn your place, no man will ever take you." And our brothers hear those same messages, and they learn that a woman's place is to be taken by a man to serve them. Yet somehow our souls yearn for more, because we are more. We try out our voices, we test the limits, we start to push back. But the programming runs deep, and often when we express a desire to be treated as more than a maid or a nanny by the man we've chosen to be partnered with, we're shut down with phrases like, "You must be on your period because you're being bitchy. You should be grateful. I bring in a good income. How hard can it even be? You must be lazy." So we stop talking about what we need. We give the strokes to our man because either we don't know that we have a choice, or because in choosing to be partnered, we often sacrifice our own financial security, making it necessary to keep our financial provider satisfied with us in order to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. When a child comes along, the temperature on the pressure cooker gets turned up even more, because as women, we're expected to just gracefully and effortlessly take on this additional role of mothering without allowing any compromise elsewhere, because it's natural, because women are nurturers. We're expected to literally sacrifice body, mind, and soul, and still give our partner strokes because it's hard for them now that they have to share us. What? He's upset because he has to share you? You are not property to be divided. He's frustrated you don't want to have sex because you're touched out, or have pelvic floor damage, or birth trauma, or a postpartum mood disorder, or you just aren't in the mood today. Why do his desires as an adult take priority over the actual needs of his children and wife? He's tired after a long day at work. He just wants to watch TV. I'm sorry, but your wife is tired too. She wants to eat a hot meal and have 5 minutes to shower alone. You guys are in this thing together, and the focus should be on mutual care, not getting what you feel you're owed. Now, of course, we all have times of struggle, and we're not bringing 100% to our marriage. Of course, it's not always going to be a 50-50 or even an 80-20 division of labor. It is absolutely crucial to remember, though, that in the 80-20 times, one partner is carrying more only for a while and because of extraordinary circumstances. The person giving 20 needs to understand that they're not owed that 80 every day. And both partners need to be on the same page about how they're going to work together to shift back from 80-20 to 50-50 to 100-100, where both partners are bringing their best selves to the table. If you're not on the same page about that, then one partner gets resentful while the other one gets bitter, and that's just a recipe for disaster sooner or later. Toxic masculinity not only harms women, though. It keeps men from realizing the wonder of the divine feminine. It separates them from the full potential within themselves. It keeps them from being in true, deep, honest, genuine, compassionate, and respectful relationships. The harm that we do to others, we do to ourselves in the process. And in teaching our partners how to heal their relationships with us, we also give them the tools to heal their own wounds. Do we owe them this? Not really. They are grown-ups after all. But we have chosen to be partnered with this person, and so we work to sharpen each other and grow together. And sometimes one partner has to take the lead on that for a while, so we can both get to a better place. These changes and shifts can be incredibly difficult, even for enlightened men, because, as Clay Shirky says, when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Most of the men in our lives have not been taught how to live in a mutually beneficial and truly respectful relationship. In asking them to give up some of their male privilege, they feel as though they're being asked to do too much, or even like they're being oppressed. This is where a good marriage counselor becomes helpful. A skilled counselor or coach can help your marriage navigate through all of the above, if you can get your partner to go. Because counseling is often perceived as feminine and weak, and it itself is confronting for some men. If they won't go with you, go anyway without them, or pursue your own healing journey with things like reputable books, webinars, podcasts, yoga nidra, meditation, tapping, whatever works for you. Heal your own wounds. Be the light. Deal with all the old shit that's polluting your life today and turn it into rich soil for growth. Figure out who you want to be and how you want to feel and how you're going to make those things reality. Your partner will either be inspired to come along or they'll drift further away as you keep growing forward. And in both cases, that is ultimately their own choice. At the end of the day, the only person we can control is ourselves, and we have to decide for ourselves what steps we can take. We're not all in a position of being able to give ultimatums. We can't always just walk away, and we can't drag someone along with us who doesn't want to walk our path. We can't always eradicate the toxic masculinity from our marriage. Sometimes the best thing we can do is plot a course to navigate our way through it, or to mitigate the damage that's being incurred along the way. We can't make the person we've chosen to be in relationship with change, but we can choose who we want to be in our relationships. We can be intentional in our decisions about how to eradicate, navigate, or mitigate the effects of toxic masculinity in our marriage. We can say, yes, Ma, I am too big for those britches. I'm going to buy myself a new pair that fit me perfectly now.